Hello, everyone. My name is Natalie Rosado. I'm here on behalf of the Chicago Anchors for a Strong Economy program. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's webinar, The State of Procurement, Industry Changes and Trends. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you a brief introduction of World Business Chicago's Neighborhood and Strategic Initiatives Department, of which the Chicago Anchors for a Strong Economy program is an initiative. The Neighborhood and Strategic Initiatives Department was really founded with the mission and vision of leveraging World Business Chicago's economic development resources to bring inclusive economic growth to our neighborhoods. We do that through a few initiatives, which I just wanted to briefly touch on today. The first one is CASE, Chicago Anchors for a Strong Economy, and CASE was really founded with the goal of strategically connecting anchor institutions in Chicago and helping them develop pipelines with local suppliers. We also have a platform called Chibis Hub, which aggregates business resources in an online platform. We also do work in workforce development, and we work really hard to promote hiring from our local neighborhoods. And then last but not least, we have an initiative called Chicago Made, which really helps support the creative economy and helps support entrepreneurs that have creative businesses. With that, I just wanted to, introduce the event today, because I think that this event is really one of the foundational pieces of CASE. One of our biggest goals is to make sure that we're strategically, again, bringing together anchor institutions with local businesses. And this event is really, aimed at doing just that. We want to make sure that as businesses are growing and as they're developing themselves and trying to build capacity, that they have connections with industry experts that can help them do that and can really guide them as they're trying to grow. So all of that to say, we're really excited to have everybody here. Thank you so much to all of our panelists that are here today and have donated their time. Thank you to businesses attending today. I'm so glad that you're taking the time out to work on your business and really learn from, the knowledge that the experts here can impart. And thanks again to my colleague, Chris, and our Marcoms team, Caroline and Andrew, for helping to put this together. So I'll turn it over to Chris Egan so that he can introduce our panelists. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday afternoon with us, the CASE team. I am delighted to be your concierge for this experience, this adventure. We have a tremendous panel for you today, but I'm going to give you a quick outline of what we're going to do today and give some folks a little bit more time to join if they're still en route. So first of all, we are going to introduce our panelists, for which we think we've brought three esteemed professionals to the panel today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give kind of a quick background, just give you a little bit of information about, what's brought them to the conversation today. And then we are going to move over to give them an opportunity to kind of give some opening remarks, just talk a little bit more about their role in their organization. And then we're going to move right into the open forum. As kind of discussed in kind of all our communications, we really want to make this about a back and forth exchange. We do have a few questions that we kind of have kind of on deck that we will direct to the panelists, but we do want to encourage you to ask questions directly to the panelists. These can be questions about their background, they could be about their institution, or just kind of general questions about procurement. One of the things I'll encourage you to do is as you listen to their backgrounds, you'll be able to kind of identify their areas of expertise and kind of direct questions to them. Just as a reminder, because of the format of our Zoom today, that if you have a question, just go ahead and raise your hand using kind of the Zoom functionality or send us a chat and we'll make sure to highlight you. And we're actually going to be able to let you jump on screen and ask the question face to face to our panelists and then hop back on as a guest. So if you have any trouble with that, of course, Natalie, myself, and my colleagues, Andrew and Caroline are here to help. So if you have any questions about the functionality of Zoom, do let us know. All right, let's get started. So at the top, I want to introduce Liz Diebolt. And I want to, we kind of have some playful nicknames for each of these panelists that kind of coincides with their bio. So I'm going to introduce you to Liz, the data doctor Diebolt. Okay, Liz is a highly skilled healthcare supply chain industry kind of tactician. Liz holds a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Chicago and an MBA with a concentration in both operations and health administration from Chicago Booth. She's got experience in sourcing, cost savings, and contracting. Previously, she spent 6 years as the strategic sourcing manager at Rush University Medical Center. And currently she serves as the manager of strategic sourcing and contracting at Lurie's Children's Hospital. So we are delighted to have Liz join us today. Second, I want to introduce you to Jamie Neely. Jamie is a tremendous professional, and today's nickname for Jamie is Jamie the Terminal Neely. And you'll see why that makes sense given the fact that she works for the Chicago Transit Authority. Jamie is where all the kind of people and resources intersect. That's why she's the terminal. She kind of serves currently as the manager of small business development and outreach. And in that capacity, she's responsible for increasing the opportunities for women, minority, and economically disadvantaged businesses in public procurement. Her job has a wide range of responsibilities, but it includes kind of regulation, business advising, community outreach, and certification, along with technical assistance services. So pretty broad range. Jamie has a tremendous experience that started when she applied her trade at Shore Bank to be renamed Urban Partnership Bank, and then at Women's Business Development Center before she came to Chicago Transit Authority. Jamie got her start at Alabama State University, where she got her bachelor's in finance. And then more recently, she got her master's in public administration from DePaul. So again, excellent panelists, and we're delighted to have you. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And last but not least, we have Morgan Malone. Morgan is tremendous, and we are calling her Morgan the Voice Malone today, and delighted to have her. Morgan currently serves as the Director of Development and External Affairs for Farpoint Development, which is a Chicago-based real estate development firm. Her role consists in community development, municipal finance, procurement, and external affairs. Morgan likes her projects with a B, as in billions. This includes stewarding the $3.5 billion Bronzeville lakefront development, formerly the Michael Reese Hospital site. And also Morgan, when she worked for the Chicago Department of Aviation, advanced initiatives for the O'Hare's $8.5 billion expansion. And so she's got tremendous experience. Morgan kind of honed her convictions at Old Dominion University, majoring in women's studies, and recently picked up a certificate of public policy from University of Chicago, because why not? And Morgan is truly the voice of many movements, most notably the Resisting in Place, a platform and support network for Black professionals. Just delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. So what I want to do now is I've given folks kind of a background of your experience, but I want you to talk a little bit more about your actual role in greater detail. Just give us a few minutes, just a little bit more color to what I've already prepared. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz first. Please tell us a little bit more about what you do for Lurie's.
Thank you. So I'm the manager for sourcing and contracting at Lurie Children's Hospital. And that means that I handle all the products and services that we purchase. My role is unfortunately not specific to, local spend or local vendors. It's truly everything. And I think this will come up later, but some of the challenges with that are we don't have a ton of bandwidth to really mentor or, seek out local vendors the way some bigger companies with that staff may have. So everything from pacemakers, EVS, courier services to, Band-Aids comes through me and my team.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to turn it over now to Jamie. Please give us a little bit more background on what your role is at CTA.
Thank you, Chris and Natalie and the Case and World Business Chicago, and thank you all for attending today. My name is Jamie Neely. I am the manager of the Small Business Development and Outreach team here at CTA. We are tasked and challenged with increasing our diversity spend across our CTA contracts. We do that with our certification and goal setting. So you all may have heard of the M, minority, or W, women business enterprise. CTA accepts and certifies what's called the disadvantaged business enterprise. So we work with our socially and economically disadvantaged businesses to help them secure and successfully operate on CTA contracts. We also support our prime contractors, of course, with connecting them with our small business community, as well as become internal advocates to our internal user groups to say, hey, there's an opportunity for our small, diverse, disadvantaged businesses. And so we do that by various ways through workshops and seminars. We've been very great, workshop seminars, procurement outreach events, pre-bid meetings, educational training. We have an 8-week cohort programming that kind of covers the modules or topics that are essential to successfully operating on CTA contracts. And mentor protege. We encourage our larger prime contracts to extend that expertise and that experience to our smaller contractors to build capacity so that they too can become large prime contractors. So in short, we're supporting the small business and diverse community to become successful contractors with CTA.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jamie. And I think I'm going to go to Morgan.
So, hi everyone, I'm Morgan Malone, the Director of Development and External Affairs for PowerPoint Development, and also a part of the GRIT team, which is developing the Bronzeville Lakefront site, the former Michael Reese Hospital. And so we are going to be doing lots of contracts, and I'll be doing a lot of contracted management and administration on this project. We're really excited about it. I mean, we're going to have a comprehensive program where we're really engaging folks and trying to get as many people as possible on this project. We have very ambitious goals of 65% minority participation, and that's in workforce and in contracting. So we're going to be spending a lot of energy, especially over the length of this 20-year project, making sure that as many small businesses can contract with this site as possible, build capacity, scale their businesses, be primes, etc. So we're really, really excited about this opportunity, not only as an opportunity to diversify the folks who are able to do business on this site, but also an opportunity for those businesses to scale and grow and diversify their opportunities on other sites as well.
Yeah, great. So I heard actually a number of different topics and themes that I think we're going to come back to. I heard folks talk about this idea of local spend, the challenges of sometimes engaging local vendors. This discussion around certification is something that always comes back around in this conversation. I think mentor protege programs are also very interesting. Large developments, whether you're a prime contractor or a subcontractor. So we encourage those in the audience to get your questions ready, because we're coming to you next. We're going to start with a few questions that we have kind of pre-loaded, but then we want to turn to you and get your questions. And again, for those who are just joining us, feel free to ask questions directly to the expertise of any of our panelists about their institution, about a specific project, or even just a general question that you might have, that we have this tremendous set of knowledge that you can pull from here. So first question though, from our kind of preset of questions. 2020 has been an abnormal year, kind of top to bottom, with COVID and civil unrest. They've been two driving forces for disruption. And there are a lot of changes to how your firm might have approached purchasing. And we want to know if you predict that those changes will continue into the foreseeable future, or if you kind of see your firm moving back to business as usual, whatever that looked like pre-COVID, pre-civil unrest. So I'm going to actually put that direction to Jamie, and then I'll open up to the other panelists.
Very good question. Well, the CTA Diversity Small Business Programs have been fortunate in responding to these unfortunate conditions and climate that we're living in today, such that we essentially just kind of moved everything virtually, right? So whether it's our outreach, our procurement, our user groups quickly utilize our Bonfire, which is an online platform where you can, proceed with our procurement, bidding, asking questions, et cetera. Essentially our exact in-person process, or what it was at some point of normalcy. Now everything is on Bonfire, which is this virtual platform. So just being able to adapt to the times and the conditions, I think we responded well. We also responded with our small business community by addressing some of the things that may be impacting them. Such that cybersecurity, right? So they are also being forced to now work in this more virtual space. And so while some were much more prepared than others who wanted to get in front of it, so we hosted a cybersecurity webinar this year, invoicing, again, responding to the times. They need to get paid now. Payment now is more critical than it ever has been, just to sustain. And so we hosted a workshop on invoicing and making sure they're processing their payments effectively. And Yeah, and so just us doing our part of responding to the times, outreach continue, us being engaged with the small business community. And then lastly, our access to capital, right? So you all mentioned barriers. One huge barrier, as we all know, to the small business community is access to capital. And so through our RPM, Red Purple Modernization Project, our partners, Wash Floor, as aggressive as they were with or are with gaining and gaining the interest of diverse firms, they quickly understood that they were faced with this challenge of capital. So in response to that, they curated what's called Building Small Businesses, which is a financial capacity building program. Part of it is one-on-one advising with some financial advisors. But the second part of that, once they understand the financial needs of the particular business, because every business is very unique, they then go out and support that business in search to secure funding. And so in a year and a half worth of time, we've helped about 15 firms secure almost $5 million in loans or funding. And that's also inclusive of some of the Emergency Care Act funding that through IDA or PPP that allowed our businesses to stay afloat during these times.
Thanks, Jamie. Morgan, Liz, things that you're seeing that you think are going to be trends that continue into the future, or things that you think are going to revert back to whatever normal was before 2020 hit us?
I think there will be opportunities for people who want to bid in person. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Like, I think right now, digital is convenient because of the space that we're in, but I definitely think there will be a time where it returns to normal and people go back to bidding the way that they formerly used to. I think on our end, one of the things that we're looking for is just technological advancement to engage new people. So there's definitely like, how do we do webinars and things like that? But we're also thinking pretty critically about like, how do we set up portals to have contractor interest, so then if anything like this ever happens again, they're tapped into any project we'll ever do. It's almost like setting up our own personal city certified portal. We've basically contracted with SkillSmart, and they are going to have a project interest portal for small businesses, as well as interest for folks who want to work on the project. So we've basically created a space where anybody who's interested in working on the project or in any capacity is able to be involved and able to be connected to workforce organizations and contracting technical assistance organizations all in one space. And so we're going to continue to build this platform, continue to build the people who are in it, and then just keep supporting people entering the portal. That way we're able to still pull from them no matter whatever happens. So should this ever happen again, where everything has to be digital, we'll still have access to the folks that we previously engaged and not just the people who bidded on our project.
Great.
Us, being a hospital, we've been impacted by COVID-19 quite a bit.
In a very immediate and direct way, I'm sure.
Right. And because the local and diverse procurement also comes through our main sourcing office, our energy has really been focused heavily on just getting key medical supplies that are in short supply right now. However, I would say some good news for local suppliers is because of some of the chaos that we felt early on, we kind of cleaned up some of our processes on warehousing and courier. Well, we've cleaned up warehousing, we're cleaning up courier now. And because of that, we were able to bring we had a non-local vendor. They were headquartered in a non-local area, and we were able to bring on a local vendor that's headquartered in Little Village to be our warehousing partner. And we are also going to try to include them. They do not do courier right now, and we're going to try to include them in our bid for courier services to, again, bring a local vendor some more business instead of these giant corporations that are, not based in Chicago. So some of the cleanup effort has been positive, and we're hoping that we can continue to kind of work smarter and try to include local vendors when we're doing cleanup and when we're going out to bid. But right now, the sourcing is definitely stretched thin, just working on getting key medical supplies.
Understood. Let me double back on something that I think Jamie brought up that I think is interesting. The us needing to be remote and so much moving to virtual has led to a whole new slew of technologies. Now everyone's on Zoom and GoToMeeting, and all these technologies, but you also talk about new invoicing technologies, and you mentioned this one, Bonfire. That's just one example, but my question is for vendors, how much, because I've had through our capacity with CASE, we sometimes hear that institutions want to know that vendors are familiar with their technology. What kind of advice do you give to vendors as they try to think what technology do they need to become familiar with? What do you think are the key technologies that are important for them to be on their radar because it's like knowing Microsoft Office when you're applying for a job. What technology should they have in order for them to be considered for your kind of opportunities? And I'll open this up to any panelist that's got an answer to that.
Well, I'll start. I think that's a loaded question, Chris, right? So technology is so widespread. And so actually within our 8-week cohort program, we have one of the modules is technology. And so in that platform, we talk about the different demands from, CTA. While we may use Bonfire, a different agency may require a different platform, and then another agency, another platform. And so I think as a business owner, you have to determine, of course, if I want to do business with that agency, I must subscribe to that platform. But then as you all think about what particular technologies that you in your business, I think you have to define what your exact needs are, right? Because you can get bombarded with a host of different platforms that does exactly the same thing or similar things, but may have a little niche here, or may be very particular in this sector, healthcare versus transportation, et cetera. So I think understanding what your exact needs are and kind of doing an evaluation of what technologies are presented and choosing wisely. But there's no kind of right or wrong way, I don't know, Chris, to best advise in my stance on how to navigate that part.
I hear you. Well, let me go ahead, Liz, please.
At a bare minimum, you need Microsoft Office Suite. You need a reliable email.
Oh yeah, essential, Liz.
This actually, even though we've been remote for 8 months, I think every day I have at least one kind of video call where the audio doesn't work, the video doesn't work, or someone can't see something. So testing that out with people, from different companies, making sure it's reliable, and then kind of benchmarking you against other people in your market. What technology might they have to track things? Can you afford it, or can you get something similar or create something similar so that you're competitive?
Yeah, that makes sense. Morgan, did you want to add something to that?
I was going to echo a little bit of what Liz said. I think
Okay.
This time is just unwieldy, and everyone just has to be agile, because it's not like they're like a handful of technologies that just have a monopoly over everything. So it just requires agility, as every company and every sector finds the best fit for them. And so then if you want to play in a bunch of different sectors, you're just going to have to be agile to be responsive, which can be tough with limited capacity or limited manpower in these times, but it's just part of a reality as we all move through this learning curve.
Absolutely. Well, this is kind of connected to the next question, which is, as you're assessing vendors, clearly there's fields that for each opportunity, as whether you got your pre-qualified application or whatever it might be, you have those fields. But is there anything that you're looking for in between the lines, and kind of the it factor, something that's not necessarily a field, but something you always makes you feel better, like, oh, this person's a vendor that we think is special, and we want to make sure that we spend some extra time, or that, hey, they're going to be a great fit for us because X, Y, or Z. Is there something you're looking for beyond just the obvious kind of numbers and figures that an application would contain?
For me, I would say knowledge of the sector. Like right now, we're not doing a lot of construction contracting. We're doing more so professional services contracting. And so I think it's like, do you have any knowledge of what we do and the impact of why your contribution to this space is going to even be important? Because it's not like we're just contracting and doing procurement for our health, right? Like a lot of everything that we procure has an integral impact on the way that we do business and the way that we service the people we're looking to service. And so, and in the companies and the communities that we're looking to service. And so, do you understand why you're here? Do you understand your value and where you're going to plug in? Do you understand what we're doing? And do you understand what that entire package means to someone else?
Mine is similar. If you have healthcare experience, if you have a client that is a hospital, that's always great. Or if you have knowledge of what we're doing, that's helpful because as you know, if you're performing a service at a hospital, there may be different regulations than if you are doing it at any other location. Other it factors for me are professionalism. The difference between someone calling me back, emailing me back quickly with clear communication on what they can do for us makes a huge difference than if I have to track you down. You're already out of it if I have to call you back twice. And then flexibility, being able to get things done quickly if need be. Like if we need a contract done next week, if we need you to get your legal to review something tomorrow, that is essential right now in these, challenging times.
Excellent, excellent. I want to call out Meg, who's in our audience, who asked a question. I'm actually going to ask this question on her behalf. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot for one moment to get to her question. And let's see here. It says, what's the best approach to take to be considered for an RFP with large portfolios in Chicago as a women-owned business? Again, what's the best approach to take to be considered for an RFP with large portfolios in Chicago as a women-owned business? And I'm going to have Meg provide a little bit more details on what her business is and the name of her business, but do you have enough there to respond? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Morgan first, and any advice you could give Meg.
Yeah, so the GRIT team in particular is committed to engaging with women-owned businesses and minority-owned businesses. We are aggressively always looking for women and minority-owned businesses in order to support the work that we're doing. And so in addition to just generally speaking, wanting to make sure that we're involving as many people as possible, we also are going to have that portal launching in the next 30 days. And so the number one way to get on our radar is to sign up for the portal. And that way we're able to toggle by category for exactly what we need. So as soon as what we're looking for pops up, it's going to be like, okay, cool. I'm looking for this type of business. And then are they a WBE? Are they an MPE? I'm going to be able to click those things and then you pop up immediately. So for us, it's engagement with the technology that we put out there to make sure that folks have access to the opportunities that we have.
Great. Now, just a reminder, Meg works for, it is Beeline Support. It's a medical grade cleaning company and it's women owned. And I know that we've worked with them in the past the case and they're tremendous. So delighted to have you on the call. Thanks so much for your question, Meg. And again, Jamie, it looks like you have you have some advice to that question.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And thanks, Meg, for the question. I echo Morgan. As it relates to CTA, we actually just had a pre-bid meeting this week for janitorial services for our rail carts. So we definitely have the opportunities, and we are, much like Morgan and Liz, oftentimes looking for women, minority, and economically disadvantaged owned businesses. And so my suggestion would be, if you have a WBE certification, I would encourage considering the DBE, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification. That includes gender, ethnicity, as well as the economic component with a personal net worth of less than 1.32 million. Another component of just kind of knowing about our opportunities can also kind of put you in the network, Meg. We have a buying plan, which provides a forecasted opportunity out to 18 months. It is on the CTA website. We also put our buying plan within the City of Chicago's buying plan that's inclusive of other sister and county and state agencies. And I think that'll give you a kind of a overview of what may be potentially coming down the pipeline for you, where your woman-owned status may be leveraged.
Great, thank you so much. Here's our next question. You actually already kind of started to answer it. One of the things we wanted to know is what's the most common advice you'd give to vendors that you find yourself repeating? I already heard you say a number of really good things. You talked about agility. You talked about communication, knowledge of the sector, and flexibility. Those might be your kind of go-tos, but is there anything else that's not on that list? Something that you feel like you kind of find yourself repeating often to vendors? Hey, you need this. This is the advice I'd give you in order for you to level your business up. So I'm sure you engage with businesses on a regular basis. Is there any kind of mantra, phrase, or topic that you feel like you really hone in on? Like, hey, maybe it's even just, hey, this application looks good, but I'd really improve your website, or I'd like to see this other thing from you, and that's in that way we would score you higher and you'd get farther down the pipeline. Is there anything like that you haven't already touched on?
Go ahead.
Sorry, let's go for it. I was just going to say for the public sector, utilizing the free and public data. A lot of the information of who has won previously awarded contracts, who's won contracts, who our prime contractors are, like I mentioned, the buy-in plan, what contracts opportunities are becoming available. All of that kind of helps you plug in the pieces, right? If you find out who our prime contractors are and you review our buy-in plan and you see there's opportunity, you may call the prime and say, hey, prime, I see this opportunity coming down the pipeline Q2 next year. Any interest on going after? Here are my capabilities. So there's a lot of benefits of getting in front of the opportunity to be more successful in winning them.
Great advice. Appreciate that. Liz, please. We got you. We want to have you on mute. There, thanks so much. You're good.
If we're talking about the case of a local vendor who's still sort of growing their business, a key thing for us is, are you going to be able to scale? Because reliability is super key for us. If you say you can feed 100 people and can't, that's going to be a big problem. And it's probably going to cause us to, end on a bad note and not consider you in the future. So being able to think through a plan to scale your business up and prove it to us clearly is key.
Thanks, Liz. Let's follow up on that a little bit, because I know that we talk a lot about scaling at Case, and that's kind of in the ecosystem. In the social sector, we talked about scaling, and yet we know it's challenging to do so. So not every business is. Some businesses are well suited and well structured to scale, and some are not. What are you looking for in a business that in your mind leads you to believe they are ready to scale? What are the factors where they say they can do X, and you're saying, can you do X times 2? You feel confident they're able to do it. Are there any things that are giveaways for you that they're in a well position to grow exponentially? I think of something like, Farpoint, you all have grown exponentially. What do you think the factors that allowed your business to grow? And similarly, are there nuggets from that other businesses in different sectors can borrow from? Like, what do they need to think about? Because I know we have firms within Case that are doing excellent work, providing great service, but they'd really love to be doubling, tripling their output. Morgan?
I would say one of the things we're really good about is being agnostic. We don't have like one thing that we do and we just triple down on that one thing. We're really good about knowing what's going on in the market and being able to pivot and be agile and be involved in different types of asset classes based off of whatever is going on. So I would say just agility and ability to pivot. But then also I would say, everyone who comes to us, especially like small businesses that are MWBE firms, not every single person who comes to us, even in professional services, has like this wealth of real estate experience or like wealth of portfolio of stuff. And so then we're looking for key things of like, no, you maybe haven't done it in real estate, but do you have a track record to show that you can do it? Like in any market, in any way? Like, what do your operations look like? What does your team look like? Are you going to be able to execute on the skill, whatever that skill is, and do it proficiently and do it very well? And can we give you that opportunity to start in real estate with us versus expecting you to have 20 years experience based off of the quality of your work regardless? Does your work say about you that no matter what you're doing, you're excellent? And to us, that's been a large part of how we scale, is like, not just, okay, do you guys do office space, but the ability to be versatile, the ability to like take on new challenges. Farpoint does projects that other people won't. Our key brand is that we do projects in communities and we take on projects that would be difficult for other people or other people would pass on, and we make them amazing. And so that's true of any asset class. And that's a part of how we are able to continue to grow and scale and build a reputation of just being like agile and versatile.
Great, that's super helpful. I love the idea of thinking that, if you're a pro at, track and field, doesn't necessarily mean you've ever done double Dutch, but if you're a pro at track and field, you can transfer those skills over. I like that. And certainly I think some of these businesses, if they have had an expertise in one place and they have that, they've demonstrated that, it's nice to know that someone's got to take the risk on them, that they can go do it in the next space, in the bigger room. because that's the story of most of these companies as they've gotten really large. So appreciate that. We want to talk a little bit now. We want to pivot a little bit and talk about your specific. We kind of recruited you to be on this panel because each of you represent different sectors. So we have government with Chicago Transit Authority. We have healthcare with Lori's, and we have real estate development with Farpoint. Can you talk to your specific industry and just talk about, because I know that in the case database, in the case universe, and really just the small business ecosystem, folks typically identify with a particular industry that they are trying to chase. They're trying to get into healthcare. They're trying to get into one of these sectors. So could you just talk a little bit about purchasing trends that you see within your space? So that can be for your Lori's, or it can be for, again, the Chicagoland hospital network, and same for each of your industries. So I'd love for you to just talk about your sector a little bit. I'll turn it over to Jamie first. Why don't you talk a little bit about government and CTA, what you're seeing as far as purchasing trends there?
Sure. So CTA, I like to say that we buy a little bit of everything, but a lot of construction. So a lot of our spend is in construction or construction related industries. However, we do spend, again, a little bit in a lot of other categories. And so what happens is the only agencies that accept or recognizes the DBE certification are transportation agencies. And so most assume that there's no opportunities if you aren't in construction or construction related fields. And so with CTA, I want to encourage, for those treasury management or legal services or court reporting or caterers or anything beyond or that is not construction related to still become DBE certified, because when we are seeking firms for those opportunities, they aren't there or they aren't certified. So I will also add to that, we're also noticing a lot. We've been fortunate to keep our, our projects still going on the construction side, but we're also seeing a lot of opportunities that's responding to the times, right? I think, Chris, you mentioned, in this virtual space. So how we do things, there's a lot of vendor opportunities for virtual platforms. COVID-19, so a lot of opportunity for cleaning and janitorial services, always been there, but perhaps a little bit more than in the past, or a little bit more aggressive than in the past. So looking at those categories, or those spend categories that are responding to the unique times, we're noticing those as well.
Thank you so much. That's helpful. Liz, you want to talk to us a little bit about, I know you've touched on this already, but a little bit about what you're seeing in the healthcare sector.
Sure. So overall, I'd say that right now, healthcare is taking a bit of a hit with a lot of if you look at inpatient side in the hospital, at least in children's hospitals, our volumes are down because kids aren't getting sick, which is good news because they're home, not playing with other kids. And then on the outpatient side, it's a lot of telemedicine, which often pays lower. And that seems to be true kind of throughout the hospital sector, is that volumes are down a little bit, which means revenue will be down. And by and large, hospitals are nonprofits, especially in this region in Chicago. So we are being pushed to look for cost savings. And typically we get cost savings through large vendors who have big scale and can offer us, aggressive rates. And that kind of goes against some of the initiatives that we're trying to do and committed to doing on the local spend, or, diverse or more minority owned, women owned, veteran, et cetera, owned business spend. So we're kind of balancing those at the same time. So in one case, we may be looking to standardize. For example, we have one vendor who does our environmental services for our hospital, and we have two others that do some of the offsites. So we're looking to standardize to one for everything. To A, just, to simplify things. There's only one vendor to call, and B, to get some savings. We're also seeing a lot of mergers and acquisitions in this space in healthcare, period. Then on the other side, a lot of hospitals, being nonprofits, are committed. Missions are about, helping people, making people's lives better and improving their health. So there are several initiatives that we are part of that other hospitals are part of with us. One of them is Westside United, and Natalie, who's on here with me, is both the person we work through to look at our local spend metrics. And also she and I are both on this West Side United group that's looking at growing local spend in the West Side neighborhoods. And Lurie is also part of 2 other local spend initiatives on top of that. So I would say the good news here for smaller local businesses is that there is a lot of commitment that is growing and sort of pressure to, follow through on some of the things we're saying we're going to do and that matter to us about, really putting your money where your mouth is and, getting these contracts with local vendors.
Thank you so much, Liz. And then Morgan, from the real estate development side, kind of trends you're seeing in purchasing, maybe anything different or the additive from what you've already shared.
Yeah, I mean, I think you all heard me say that we have a 65% participation goal.
Yeah.
And when the baseline in the city is 26 and 6, 65% is very, very aggressive.
Yeah.
So
I love scaling that. Great to hear you're scaling that.
Our baseline achieve goal is 30 and 10, and our aspirational is 65%. And so for us, we're watching the city, their commitment to investing on the South and West Side, their commitment to purchasing and development on the South and West Side. And with those things, people in communities want to see people on jobs who look like them. And so that isn't going away. I don't think that there's going to be a time where we look up in the next 10 years and heightened engagement with minority and women-owned businesses is not a glaring factor or requirement. That said, we're looking to work with firms that are also thinking about it. Like, it's not enough for us to just have an equity and inclusion plan. We also want to work with firms who have that for themselves, primes who have that for themselves, so that we're able to support small businesses all the way down into subcontracting at every level and at every tier. I think one of the things that's important to be cognizant about is as we see development shift in communities and nationwide, and we see these requirements shift, it's that we don't expect 65%, we don't expect everyone to have a wealth of real estate development experience or have had opportunities on all of these spaces. The whole point of being able to give people opportunities is to know that you're going to be onboarding people you have to take a chance on so that they can continue to build and continue to be on other development projects. So we really are, I think the trend at this point is going to say, like, hey, they have multiple mega developments happening at the city all at one time. We can't all use the exact same people all at the exact same time every single day for the next 20 years. So come as you are. Come as you are, sub to some primes, build relationships, help us figure this out so that we can continue to grow and scale businesses on these sites. Because that is the reality. We have 3 or 4 mega projects happening at one time, and I'm sure we'll probably onboard another 1 or 2 in the next 5 years. So that said, when you have that many projects going on and an airport expansion, there's not enough bandwidth to go around without bringing in new people. So that just is what it is. It really doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether you're in real estate or construction or CTA, wherever you are. The reality is all of us have major construction projects happening at the exact same time. There are only so many architecture firms in Chicago, only so many engineering, only so many designers, only so many construction folks, and all the other trades, right? And so with all of these mega projects happening at the same time, we have to bring in new people. That is the trend. And so get people on to the things that are as easily accessible as possible and help them build. That's number one, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. Finding untapped potential. It's good stuff. We are actually about to wrap up. We really only have time for 1 or 2 more questions. If you have a question in the audience, please put it in the chat. I'm gonna, for now though, kick it over to my colleague, Natalie, who will potentially ask our final question. So Natalie, I know you had something queued up in your mind. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. My question actually had a little bit to do with something Morgan just touched on. I love your, just how you said, come as you are, right? And I think that we always talk to our case businesses. And one of the things that they're really curious about is, how do I even talk to somebody at X institution, right? I know that Liz mentioned, obviously with Westside United, with HEAL, with all these different local initiatives, there's this bigger sort of incentive for institutions to purchase locally. And we still see a bit of a disconnect with folks getting in the pipeline. And I just wanted to kind of pose the question, like, what do you recommend, for businesses that want to start talking to people like you all? What should they do? Like, first of all, not even, because we all know that this is sort of, not unlike applying for other things, right? You have to better your resume. You have to put yourself out there and network. So tactically, what should local businesses, case businesses that are pretty well-rounded be doing to get this started, especially during COVID when everything is virtual? Do you have recommendations as to events they should be attending, people they should be getting in touch with, just things they should be doing to start getting in front of you all, the decision makers at these institutions?
So my initial thought on that is to attend events held by contracting organizations like the Chicago Minority Supplier Diversity Council, HACIA, Black Contractors United, like get involved with those groups and go to their events, because usually they have us on to talk and directly connect. Another thing that works, some people are fine with being cold emailed. I'm a person who's fine with being cold emailed. So just like reach out to me, tell me what you do, and then I'll try to find a space for it. And if I can't find a space for it, I'll put you in the portal. And then when it's time, it's time. So I would say that, because some things, if you reach out too late, we've already hired a significant amount of people already in that space. So I don't have anything right now, but I might have something 5 years from now. And in the meantime, we can talk about how you can prepare to be ready for 5 years from now. The other thing I would say though is do not do the like copy and paste LinkedIn messages. I hate those. Every time I get them, I don't reply. And then when I get emails from people who do them, I'm more of like cautious about it, because it just is kind of, it doesn't tell me you know anything about the project or my firm and you don't care. You're just kind of like doing the business development thing and trying to put out berry leads. And so it's a weird inorganic transaction to send someone in a random LinkedIn and just be like, hey, like whatever your pitch is, it's weird. So I would say yes to cold emails from me, no to like copy and paste form LinkedIn messages. But I don't know how the other ladies feel.
Jamie, do you want to go next?
Yeah, the formal side of the house says to register as a CTA vendor using our website, transitchicago.com. Register there. By registering, you then become a part of our business network, such that when we go to advertise solicitations or outreach events, both procurement and education, you're definitely in there. Also, that's where our primes go looking for potential subcontractors, so you definitely want to be found there. We do host a bunch of events throughout the year, whether it's us or we're partnering with some of the technical assist agencies such as CASE or World Business Chicago, or some of the ones that Morgan mentioned. So you would either receive it again through registering with us or by way of our technical assistance partnerships. Or you can email me and I'll definitely keep you on the loop as much as I can.
No form emails though. Got it. Liz, anything from your end?
Sure. So I'd say primarily it is best if you can get like kind of a reference. So if you're working through through a group, like Morgan and Jamie mentioned, these trade shows or like minority spend organizations, I've been to a couple of those, and it's much easier to actually, take someone, like listen to them and hear their pitch and kind of visualize, okay, what are we going to do next, rather than an email, because we get so many emails every day that are just form emails where they, put your name in and the business and everything else is exactly the same content. So, working with CASE, which I'm sure you're already doing if you're on this webinar, is great, because if we have something coming up and I'm trying to find a local vendor, I'll often email Westside United or CASE and ask if they know of anybody. And then to the emails, I was going to say the exact same thing as Morgan, that if you, as much as you can, put in information about Lurie and how you could cater your service to us and benefit us, the better. If I read it and it looks like it's a form letter, I will delete it immediately because I get probably 50 every day on top of my normal job. But if I see, words that spark my interest, like, actual locations that we have that I know you spent time finding, or, like metrics on savings or anything like that, is going to have me look into it at least, and maybe like find out who we're using now, and who I would need to email to see if they'd be interested. That is really key for me.
That's excellent. So do your research and make sure to be personalized, and it can't say another vendor's name in there. It better be direct. Well,
And another little nugget, Chris, is don't lead with the woman-owned or minority-owned. Allow that to be the cherry on top. I always encourage lead with your capabilities to what may be advantageous to the owner, to whomever you're presenting to. But oftentimes we get, I'm an MBE or I'm a WBE, how do I do business with you? I don't know what you do. Let's start there. So lead with your capabilities and get us interested there. And then the cherry on top is that you are certified or you have those designations.
love that. Love that. It's good.
And I would just lastly add to make sure that you spell our names correctly. Like, I can't tell you how many emails I get that are not to Morgan, they're to Monica or Monique or Megan. And I'm just like, wow, don't know who any of those folks are. Must not have been for me. So I would just say that, like, do you know who you're emailing?
Yes, yes. We've all made that mistake, but we should all avoid making that mistake as much as possible. You definitely want to get someone's name correctly. All right, I want to thank the audience. I want to thank the businesses who took their time to be here. I want to thank the panelists. These are superstars in our city. I really encourage those who are listening now, or those who are listening when this is recorded and shared. These are folks, these are resources, and they're experts. So please come to them, send them nice personalized emails showing that you've done your homework. Delighted to have it. I want to thank Natalie for kind of bringing this together. I want to thank Caroline and Andrew, the folks on the communications team at WBC. Thank you all for kind of putting your time here. We're delighted to serve you. CASE is here to help small businesses grow and scale up, and just grateful for the time. I'm Chris, the convener, Egan, and we're signing off. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.